January 8th, 9:46 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby. Number 1. Good morning, Mr. Wright. Good morning, Maggie. So, what do you think is going to happen today, sir? Yesterday's session didn't go so well and ended on a giant mystery. That's true. And we still haven't solved a single part of it yet. Are you okay, Nick? Huh? Oh, yeah, of course. I saw that little flash of doubt in your eyes. No, that wasn't doubt. That was, determination. Why don't I believe you? It's nearly time, Maggie. You'd better get going to the defendant's seat. Roger. Lloyd. Don't let me down, Mr. Wright. I'm counting on you. Hey, pal. Hey, Detective Gumshoe. Quit stressing Maggie out. She doesn't need that. How did you know she was stressed? I was watching through the doorway. Oh. You look like you lost the case already. Show a bit of confidence, will you, pal? Yeah, maybe this'll help. Huh? Have you taken up aromatherapy too? I forgot about that bottle. Not in a million years, pal. Don't tell me that you don't remember this thing. I remember it, I just forgot about it. Come to think of it, that doesn't look like one of those aromatherapy bottles. This is the small bottle that turned up in Trés Bien's kitchen a couple of days ago. Wow, look at all these little bottles. Oh, they're aromatherapy oils. It's got so many, they're overflowing onto the floor. Hey, wait a minute. There's one bottle that's different from all the others. Oh, what do you know? It doesn't have a label either. And it doesn't smell. We finally got the analysis results back from the lab. So? What is it? Is it the poison? I'm afraid not, pal. It's medication. Ah. Just like 50 different synapses combined into one giant synapse and synapsed away into 50 trillion other synapses. There's synapses everywhere. Medication. Yeah, for ears. Topical use only, apparently. For ears, you mean? Yeah, it's the medication Glenn Elg was using for his ruptured eardrum. So I am thinking now more along the lines of that did happen that day then. But how do we account for the fact everything was done with his other side? How is he listening to the lottery results in his perforated eardrum? Ear, his left ear. What's Glenn Elg's ear medicine doing in the kitchen? I'm still feeling that idea of there's two incidents here. One that was seen by Maggie and one that was seen by Kudo. I was thinking it was they were a week apart, but maybe it's the same day at different times. Small bottle refilled into the court record. What about the unidentified fingerprints? Anything on that? Because all I'm thinking is that made me interested a while ago. Yeah, when they were pointing out the time everything was mentioned with the lottery, and I wanted to know what time the murder was called in by Kudo. Because I feel that's going to be significant, because it's there's a big gap here, isn't there? 1:30 and 2:30 p.m. So I'm thinking maybe he was killed around 1:30 p.m. and he was listening to the results, and then they maybe duplicated the scene for Kudo as some kind of alibi an hour later. Maggie would have to be unconscious for an hour, so I feel there's something there based on what we've got. I've had that inkling that it was two incidents for a while now, and it's like, this has sparked something. It's like, they must have got the medicine from him, and then staged it. We'll see then anyway. What about the unidentified fingerprints? Anything on them? Someone screwed up, so they only had time to analyze the contents of the bottle. Another hour and they might have gotten something on the prints, but... it's going to weaken its impact as a piece of evidence. Okay, pal. This is it. Make sure your defense is impregnable today, got it? Today's trial. I'm going to expose that guy for what he's done. My name isn't Phoenix Wright. January 8th, 10 a.m. District Court. Courtroom number 4. Number 4. Lovely roof. Court is now in session for the trial of Maggie Bird. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Ready and waiting as always, Your Honor. Very good. Then we'll get underway at once. Yesterday, we heard the testimony of Mr. Victor Kudo. He claims to have witnessed the defendant putting a powder into the victim's coffee. Yeah, because if this is, like, we're going with the logic of, like, okay, the one he saw is the one that's staged, so it's after the fact. However, the witness's testimony was plagued with a number of problems. The mark on the rim of the cup shows that the victim drank from it with his right hand. But according to the old man's testimony, he picked it up with his left hand. Thank you, Mr. Gadot. Furthermore, according to the witness's account, the victim was listening to the radio with an earpiece in his left ear. Yet the victim's left eardrum was ruptured, which made him effectively deaf in that ear. Yeah, so it's like... they've staged it, which can only imply that, like, someone else has to take his place. Someone who doesn't have something wrong with his left ear, and is probably left-handed. But didn't actually take a sip, because if they took a sip, there's a risk they may poison themselves because there was still cyanide in there. The only person I can think of in this regard is someone who's been impersonating someone else at this point. It's very much like Tigre. It's gotta be him. It's the only thing I've got going in my head. It's amazing how many contradictions a single case can have, huh, Nick? And that's why it's like, that's why the contradictions exist, is because there's 2 incidents. Therefore, there would be contradictions because we're trying to think it's 1 when it's 2. Allow me to enlighten you, Your Honor. The world, you see, keeps turning, and we must turn with it. You've lost me already, Mr. Gadot. Don't let the mysteries of yesterday mystify you today. Only losers think like that. You've got to change with the times, that's one of my rules. You're implying that you resolve these contradictions. You know the answers to these riddles. The old guy wasn't just throwing seed in here. He was throwing us off the scent. And today I'll prove it. Very well, let the first witness take the stand. Oh, here we go. And you are? Oh, bonjour everyone! I am Jean Armstrong, the owner and head chef of Le Trés Bien restaurant. Enchanté. Forgive me for asking, witness, but are you a woman? Oh la la, monsieur, as you can see, I am la pert and perky gentleman, no? On the day of the incident, you were in Trés Bien's kitchen. Wasn't that right? With you, monsieur. Everything feels right. Huh. Wow, he's totally unfazed. Doesn't anything intimidate this guy? Very well. Your testimony, please, witness. Please tell the court what happened that day at Trés Bien. We volunteer. What? At Trés Bien. Right, let's go with this logic that I've got at the moment. We'll see if it pans out. When it all happened, there were just 2 customers in my restaurant. I remember I was experimenting with some new Art Deco that day. What's Art Deco got to do? What? Like having a large mirror between the tables, for example. Perhaps that is what the old man was looking at. The cup, the earpiece, and the glasses. He would have seen everything in reverse, no? I mean, yeah. The fits. Mirror? Oui, un grand mirror, la most enormous mirror. Mirror, yes. And suddenly the mystery disappears. Where's this mirror now? Like I said, the world keeps turning, so roll with it. That would explain the coffee cup and the earpiece conundrum. The mirror would have made everything appear back to front. The heck? It's way too early in the morning for this to be happening to me. Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. But the only thing I can think of is, like, there's still an issue with that. So, at Trés Bien, when it all happened, there were just 2 customers in my restaurant. I remember I was experimenting with some new Art Deco that day. Like having a large mirror between the tables, for example. Yes, perhaps that is what the old man was looking at. The cup, the earpiece, and the glasses, he would have seen everything in reverse. No. Question mark. Yes, he would have, but there's still the issue of it would still be the earpiece in his left ear. Right? So that's still an issue, because it's like, it's resolved how he saw it the wrong way round, yeah, but you haven't resolved how he was listening to the radio. He can't have, so it's right, where do we go with this? I don't think we're presenting that at this point. That feels correct, but a leap in logic that I don't think the game is expecting is the best way of putting it. It's happened before, it happened in the first game, and then that's when I started paying attention to what they were saying, so I knew what to present and when. That's when that happened in the first game. That's when... Wait, I can't do the French. Well, the fake French anyway. So... maybe... Like, what's the best way of presenting the fact, like, he'd still have the earpiece in his left ear, regardless of a mirror? The only thing I can think of is either the bag, or literally him. But the fact he keeps saying left in that, I'm thinking that, to be honest. Like, compared to that goes like, yeah, he had an empty bag, and that's going left, left, left. And that's what I want to point out. So, again, because of the first game where I was like ahead of the trial and I was trying to be like, no, there, that thing on the safe, there, it wouldn't let me, and I lost valuable points as a result of that, or whatever the things in the top right are. So ever since then I've been paying attention to what things say very clearly, and this is what I need left being presented over and over again. So we'll go with this. The coffee cup, the earpiece, and the HMD. Let's think back over Mr. Kudo's testimony for a second, shall we? The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens on his specs. No question. You can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear, without a doubt. So to summarize, we were told both the HMD and the earpiece were on the victim's left side. Now, if Mr. Kudo saw that as a reflection in the mirror, you know what, I've done that wrong in my head, but it's still the same logic. It's like, yeah, he would have said the eyepiece was on, well, the HMD or whatever, was on the right. But he didn't. So, it means both the HMD and the earpiece were actually on the victim's right side. Exactement. You see, monsieur, now that you think about it, it is not so hard, no. Unfortunately, that's where we run into a monumental contradiction with the facts. It's essentially like what I was going with, but he's gone with the eyepiece. Which I didn't even think about, really. Mr. Kudo really did see everything in a mirror. Why is it that the HMD is now on the wrong side of his head? Oh, it makes it clearly, yeah. Order. Mr. Wright is correct. If the witness genuinely observed the victim reflected in a mirror, then we would expect the victim's eyepiece to have been over his right eye.
Objection!
How bitter. Well, that's your own fault. Crite, you should have a taste of this bitterness. It'll calm me down in no time. Make me throw up, more like. Are we talking about your coffee? Or something completely different? Both? You don't understand the way the witness thinks. Oh, he thinks? You remember this, I presume? The I broke the vase sorry apology, I mean Mr. Kudo's sworn testimony. Exactly. The old man has some very grievous habit, other than throwing seeds. The more of an impression something makes, the more muddled his mind makes it. What's the most striking thing about Mr. Elg? His hat. Clearly, it's the victim's eyepiece. Oh. And that's my point. The old man strikes again. Mr. Elg's HMD made a big impression on the old man. I saw the earpiece and those newfangled spectacles he was wearing. Oh yes, they were both on his left ear. Do you hear me? His left ear. Huh. Well, try it. That's the worst but best impression of Kudo ever. Well, I really thought he was old seedy for a minute there. Gadot's good. Enough. I must agree that yesterday's witness was irresponsibly rash in much of his testimony. Bad luck, Nick. Looks like the boil of a contradiction you found is just as a rash. Okay. A mirror can't be beaten by a handful of seeds, nor can it lie. So, what exactly was the old man looking at? Fill us in, Mr. Armstrong. Go on, tell the court. We're all ears. Oui, I can explain. Please, if you will look at the plans of le restaurant. The mirror. Alors, is everyone sitting comfortably? Okay. The mirror, it was in the middle of the restaurant dividing the two halves. Wait a minute. There is only one seat on which you could have seen an image of la victim. What? That was the seat at the table next to the victims. That was where the old man was sitting. After the terrible incident occurred, I moved the mirror so it was not in the way. What? But naturally, I did not touch anything else. What? I see no problems with the explanation we have just heard. From the table next to the victims, Mr. Kudo could have seen the victim in the mirror. How? What a naughty little coquette I am, confusing all the men like this. Don't worry about it. We can keep up, except for the guy breaking out in a cold sweat over there again. I hate that guy. You said you didn't touch anything else apart from the mirror. You're quite sure about that? Volunteers, of course. Very well, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please. Huh. The mirror, it was in the middle of the restaurant dividing the two halves. So run this by me again. The mirror was here, correct? I'm sure he said he was sitting at the bottom. Oui, really? Because I know if I were you, I wouldn't have put a mirror there. It would be in the way.
Objection!
Look who's talking, trite. Huh? You're obstructing my view, among other things. But this is my seat in the courtroom. Trés Bien's charm is that it gives you the impression that you're the only customer. Temporarily placing a mirror in that spot would hardly be in the way, but it let you see other customers, which would mean the exact opposite of what you said it was trying to do. Like you, trite. I tell you, monsieur, the mirror was there, in the middle of le restaurant. There's only one seat from which you could have seen an image of the victim. Yeah, but he wasn't sat there, was he? And where would that be? Oh la la, look how you lean towards me. I always attract the younger boys. Maybe I should keep you in suspense a little longer. Mr. Armstrong, tell the court what you know at once. I attract the older ones too, you know, handsome. Shall I tease you too? Right. I'm already seeing a very hot someone, so I'm afraid you'll be waiting for a long time. I bet she has mocha cream skin, cappuccino perfume. Probably is a cup of coffee. And I will tell you, there was only one seat from which you could have seen. Again, I am so sure that the old man, the creepy old man, said... Oh god, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to look at it. This evidence clearly reveals the contradiction in that statement, Your Honor. How exactly are the evidence in the statement just now related? They aren't, are they? Not at all. Mr. Wright, please think the facts over before making accusations. I didn't mean to do that. I was accident. I don't think that will mean any points with the judge. I was trying to view it. I was trying to view it. I pressed present rather than check, but anyway, I'm sure Victor Kudo said that he was sitting on like the bottom row of seats, like in the bottom right. I'm sure he said that. So how do we prove that if that's my memory being correct? I need to see. Let's go for it. Let's keep pressing. So I need to see if there's a vase in the top left. I need to see if there's a vase there, because if there is, in one of the hold on, is there a picture near the kitchen? Huh. Yes, there is a vase there, and he broke the vase. How and when do I present this? So that was the seat. The table was next to the victims. That seat was where the old man was sitting. After the terrible incident occurred, I moved the mirror away so it was not in the way. Naturally, I did not touch anything else. If you didn't touch anything else, the seat at the table was the victims. There's only one seat from which you could have seen an image of the victim. Where was it? I'm thinking the one I was on. That was the seat at the table next to the victims. That was where the old man was sitting. It's like, no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. But what do we go with? Do we go with the... I'm thinking we go with this. Like, when the incident occurred, I broke the vase at my seat. I'm sorry. And then it'd surely be like, well, you need to, like, show us your proof. And it'd be like, well, there's the crime photo, and you can see there's actually a vase there still, so he didn't break it. Well, he did break it, but he wasn't there. Your Honor! Mr. Kudo's words yesterday strongly contradict Mr. Armstrong's testimony. This is the letter of apology that was written by Mr. Kudo, is it not? I realize it looks useless, Your Honor, but this is still testimony. Huh. I guess useless people are only really good at identifying useless things. What relevance does this scrap of paper have to the trial, Mr. Wright? Mr. Kudo's testimony is actually very relevant to the question at hand, Your Honor. because it very clearly contradicts with this piece of evidence. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Boom. This piece of evidence contradicts the testimony we have heard, Your Honor. Crime photo? Yes, this photo clearly shows something that theoretically should not exist. What on earth do you mean by that, Mr. Wright? Should not exist? Sounds like you're describing yourself, tried. Harsh. Now then, if the defense would please clarify its statement. What is the something that should not exist in this photo? There is one thing that was clearly demonstrated by yesterday's testimony. Mr. Kudo broke the vase that was on the table where he was sitting. And yet, as the court can see, there is an unbroken vase on the table next to the victim. Why? Because Mr. Kudo was not, in fact, sitting at the table next to the victim at all. Objection! Don't be an idiot, Tried. That's impossible. That seat's the only one Kudo could have seen the victim's reflection from. Exactly. Where? There is only one conclusion we can draw from this contradiction. There was no mirror in Trés Bien that day. And then it comes into that question of like, why are you lying, sir? Why do you lie? Your testimony, Mr. Armstrong, is an elaborate lie. Mon Dieu! Clearly lying. Don't try to confuse the court, Trite. Obviously the witness cleaned up the vase. While the police were taking their time getting to the crime scene, well, replaced it with one that wasn't broken. Unfortunately, Mr. Gadot, that doesn't quite work for me. Mr. Armstrong already testified to the contrary in his own words. I did not touch anything else except the mirror. And such. Well, witness, what do you have to say for yourself? Sniffle. I was right. There was no mirror in the restaurant that day. In light of this revelation, we return back to the original problem. Why did the victim have an earpiece in an ear in which he couldn't hear? Oh, you only get one shot in life. There's no turning back. If you want to claim that the mirror wasn't there, trite. And this problem is all yours. How do you explain what the old man saw? If I can answer this, then I'll be that much closer to the truth. I can feel it. Are you going to be okay? Can you really solve this contradiction, Nick? There's more than just this one contradiction, Maya. What do you mean? Remember what Maggie told us. There was another man at the victim's table. And there was a sampled CD on the victim's table. It all flies in the face of Mr. Gadot's testimony. And I think I know the reason why nothing in this case is adding up. Because it was 2 incidents! Well, Mr. Wright, let's hear your answer. Yes, Your Honor. The reason behind all the contradictions in Mr. Gadot's testimony is simple. The victim was a phony. The case is riddled with contradictions. Yet, there is one very simple answer that clears them all up. And what is that? The incident Mr. Kudo witnessed and the incident the victim experienced were 2 completely different events. Thank you, Pheonix. What? Yes, the victim that Mr. Gadot saw wasn't Mr. Glenn Elg at all. It was an imposter, a phony pretending to be Mr. Elg. Obviously, unlike the victim, there was nothing wrong with the imposter's left eardrum. That's how he ended up wearing the earpiece in his left ear by mistake. Order in the court. Settle down or I'll clear the courtroom. Quiet, Gramps. Why didn't you clear out of here, huh? What did you say? Right. Are you saying that what Mr. Gadot saw was a setup? Yes. Someone pretended to be Glenn L. and acted out the whole coffee poisoning, all for the express purpose of creating a witness out of one Mr. Victor Kudo.
Objection!
Get real, Trite. Why would anyone want to do that? To get away with murder, you bloody idiot! So that coffee made you lose a few brain cells. Coffee's really bad for you people. This is what happens when you drink coffee. You just lose all your smarts. Isn't it obvious? The thing Mr. Kudo was most insistent about in his testimony was the serving girl brought him a Javicino, but she put something in it. That's the serving girl right there in the defendant's chair. I remember her well. It's so hard to believe, but there was one and only one reason to show Mr. Gadot this fake poisoning. To show Maggie Bird in the act of poisoning the coffee.
Objection!
Are you insinuating that the waitress in the old man's story was a fake as well? True that there were no other customers in the restaurant at the time, but it's also true that the chef was there. He would have noticed what was happening. That's right. Well, with this, if your restaurant really was the scene of such theatrics, you would have known about it, correct? Oh la la, this is most difficult for me. I don't think it's difficult at all. No, it's quite simple. All you have to do is testify. You are under oath, after all. Was there, in fact, a phony at Trés Bien that day? The defense demands that Mr. Armstrong tell the whole truth about what happened. The defense's request for additional testimony is accepted. He will accurately explain in detail the events in the restaurant that day. Oui.